Alright, I'm back again. This time I'm trying with a camera because I'm in the summer house in Denmark chilling out with my dog. So there, Nanok it's called. And today I want to talk about the league scene, especially and more in particularly the LCS. What makes it so intriguing for you to watch? And here are some of my points, and I want to hear yours as well, especially on Reddit and in the comments section on my YouTube channel. So I hope you will participate. So first things, the drafts. I really think this is one of the most intriguing things about League of Legends. I think this is one of the part that differentiate them this game from others. I know that Dota 2 is kind of close, kind of similar, but it's way more simple for a spectator to understand the the kind of what do you call it? The kind of aspects that takes place during a draft. But then again, it's so complex. Like League of Legends is, it's really simple on the surface, but it's so much more complex when you get down deep into it. So I think that's really a great selling point of LCS, and I think it needs to be they get more focus and attention because it's actually almost like a mini chess game, and I think it's really underrated when you look at League of Legends. An underrated part. Then of course there's the meta, the ever changing metas in metas metas in the league scene because of the patching and such. And I think this is a great selling point as well because it shouldn't get stale this way, but it kind of it is getting a little stale over time, but because it repeats itself, certain parts of the metas are kind of leaves traces from other metas, and I think it's kind of boring when you can see everything coming from a mile off, and especially mainly it's getting stale because it's the same champions repeating, getting back into a meta again. That's the boring part. It's not the champions. It's not the changes that are wrong. It's the kind of champions you bring back that is kind of boring to watch. I know that sounds kind of weird and was a kind of detour, but all right. Then we of course have Worlds, MSI, global battles. I think these things, these kind of events are so important for this thing to last any further than it is at the moment, because it's, for me, it's clearly a whole new level. It's like watching a World Cup in football, soccer, sorry, from American viewers, if there's any. I think Worlds in particular is so key for leagues, not leagues, but LCS success. Even though, of course, LCS is not Worlds, it's part of some regions that are fit in under it. But I think it's getting closer and closer to everything being called LCS. But that's another thing. So I would say that when you hear the crowd, the roaring crowd, the huge stages like Madison Square Garden and Staples Center and the Mercedes-Benz in Berlin and all the Shanghai stage were amazing. All of them were amazing when you looked at them, and you felt so much closer to it. You could almost feel the crowd, and I think that's really important for the spectators' point of view to feel even more inclined to watch these events instead of the but that's another section. So, but I have what I don't like about this, but that's another thing. Then we have outplays and map plays, and this is the typical sort of thing that always gets really, really, yeah, what do you call it? Ugly at times, because spectators can't really. It almost ventures into like when you're watching soccer, the NFL, and such, where you like the big plays and everybody wants them, but then again you have the map plays, and that's for the not the more niche, but I would say people looking further down into the game who are actually trying to understand what the coaches are thinking, because that's a key aspect to having a pro scene. You need to be able to look further down into it, and I think League of Legends could do a bit, not the LCS at least could do a better job. For example, making a coach dissect their own. I know they have a coaches week, but have a segment like in when they have their weekly stupid show on the LoL Esport channel. Have a coach each time dissect their own drafts or what they thought of when they tried to analyze the other team and such, and maybe even have the communications or comms, sorry, have them maybe not from this year, but from earlier on, from 2 seasons ago, where at this time it wouldn't matter if you knew what they were talking about. It isn't new anymore. It wouldn't break anything. It would be so much more exciting to watch these kind of games, to be able to watch it. It would be so cool, because it is cool to have the mic checks. And I would like to know what they were thinking and how they're doing with drafts, having listen to communications during drafts from year to year. Maybe have a segment of that, how it develops and how it have undeveloped. It's underdeveloped in certain aspects still. I think that would be so cool to know. So I think that's maybe a step forward they could make. Then I actually like the person clashes. I know there's a huge difference between clashes and fights, because I don't want it to get ugly, which it can easily, because they are, like me, immature and young and stubborn and stupid at times, especially over social medias. So I think it brings color. It makes this, it's not called flamboyant, but it makes, like when you watch a pro sports, it's so damn boring. And each time you just get a glimpse of personality from the players, you get excited. And I think it's possible, because on the internet there's our rules, in a sense, unwritten rules in how you interact with people, and I think it's way more possible for these teams and players to interact in maybe not such a controlled way, because it's getting more and more franchised, all of things they're doing, and that's mainly due to being Riot Games running the show. That's alright, but I think they could do a better job and maybe take a risk sometime. It's just so boring to watch. And each time we just have minor clashes, like nobody wants to say anything, because they know they will get fired or fined or something. And I think it's you need it, because then it brings intensity into the game. It brings so much more. Sometimes you need animosity between certain players and such, and that would be so much more of a headliner than the generic, oh, they are rivals, let's see who wins. They will something won in a playoff. Alright, we have seen this. We know, because it's so easy to see what team really is the best. It's really easy to dissect. It's so much easier to see it from a distance what is coming, and I think these kind of small clashes would bring so much more, intensity to the small, the rivalry between three teams, and it is existing. For example, like the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cincinnati Bengals or the Ravens and such. That's such an animosity, and I know that it's getting ugly, but then again, you wouldn't want to miss this kind of game, even though it's ugly. You wouldn't want to miss out. And between some of these rivalries, I know TSM and CLG is a great one, but then again, you can just sometimes you barely want to watch them because it's you can already tell from start on what team is going to win almost each time. So it's you need a different script in my opinion, at least. And I think seeing the teams gotta have something to lose. They gotta have a way actually to lose reputation, to lose maybe the favor of the crowd. You need to have something that makes you different. Pick the teams apart from each other. You need something to differentiate yourself with others and get some colors into this protein, and that's leading into my topic of what do I not like about the LCS. And I think, like I've just mentioned, with the not so flamboyant personalities on the scene, I would say as well the casters they are painful because they got so much more to say, and they're not telling. I know that it's a part of being professional, and it's just run. It's being it's so clearly a massive collaboration with this Riot thing, but you're not letting the casters being themselves, and you need, in my opinion, you need something to spice some of these games up, and I think it's dreadful and it's horrendous to watch these casters trying to be positive about something that isn't positive, like games stalling out for fucking 50 minutes and 80 minutes, and people not daring to do anything, and huge misplays and such. You need to call them out. Not everybody should do it, of course, but when it's time, you need to have it. Like when you're watching Foreign or something like that, you need to have something like that in the scene. You need to have people who are gonna tell the truth when it's needed. Because if you're only speaking the popular kind of things, when you're never getting dirty in a sense, when you're never risking anything with the casters talking, it's so boring because it gets so generic and it's so not on the fly. It's just basically a script, and I know that's a meme, but really it's so you just each game I watch a game, but half the time I wouldn't even have the casters on, or the sound on for that matter, because it doesn't matter really. It's so damn boring. And at least in football, and maybe not in NFL, but at least in soccer here in Europe, the casters, the commentators are telling what they're feeling, what they're seeing, their emotions, and it brings so much more to the table. Even though many people don't like that kind of style, I think it's necessary to have also to differentiate the casters from each other and set a narrative that way. You could use a script that way as well, but I think it would be more exciting. It would, really. So, and then we have a classic point coming up here with a region-based, for crying out loud, League of Legends. Oh, yes. But it's a business, I know it is, but it's so annoying you can't see them playing it against each other like in Counter-Strike, at least on not a regular basis, but kind of. And it just, it's not fun, because at least in other sports, which you can't stop comparing it to other sports, because they're using other sports features, and they're using the same structure in many cases. So why not? I know it's a safe business. That's one thing, but it's so not entertaining for the viewers when it's not the big stage like the Worlds or the MSI. It's not that exciting. It's just the same kind of deal every time, and it's just like repeating with different logos behind the players, and it's the same and the same and the same. And the only thing making it exciting is the champions select or the champions / the metas. These are the exciting points, but you need to have exciting matchups for at least have like Europe versus NA, like have their own little tournament or something, or have a playoff be against these two. And I know that would be the rambling, but you could just make it 1 year at a time, have it, or like in the spring or in the summer, have it at a certain place, like summer in NA in Los Angeles, or maybe in the spring have it in Europe, like a playoff there between the best teams, which you will figure out during the season, the top 3, the top 4, I don't know. It will be so much more exciting to see, because then you can stack up teams and really know where they're at. So I think there's potential there, at least, to make it more exciting. Yeah. And then again, I just think the scene is just a little too colorless in many aspects. It's just, the narrative is so boring. You can't really feel intrigued by it. They could also have, like in the off season, they could have a major. I know Reddit's doing it on their subthreads, but they could make. There could be a what do you call it? A podcast with the casters talking about giving their own expression, not being held prisoner by Riot, having their own podcast. Or I know Foreigner and Monte is doing it, but it would be nice to see the casters as well giving their own true opinion, or maybe some of the players, like you can see in the NBA with JJ Redick. He's doing it, and it's great to get some insight. And that brings much more color to it, and you would start. Actually, it would only benefit, it seems, because you will feel closer. You will feel much more relatable. You would feel that the teams are much more relatable and not so distant. And again, bring some color, because many of these teenagers got a lot of color, but they're being forced to not show any of them because teams are so afraid of them. Why not use what they got to make it a selling point as well to watch them? I know it shouldn't be a madhouse, but it is important to use some of it and not just restrain all the potential as well. And I know that's a meme as well, but you gotta have faith. Meme alert. In these players, and what you could train them as well of how they want to use it, and not just have these really stale Life of Legends like program where they will just say what the cameraman or the narrator wants them to say, because it's not that exciting. I would like NFL does wonderfully with the Hard Knocks series. You could have it as well with the league in the off season, to have an inside perspective, have a cameraman from LoL Esport follow them around and in ups and downs, valleys and peaks. It would be so much more exciting. Have a little documentary with following a team, with LoL Esports doing it, and not cutting out all the important things just because it wouldn't look nice or fit in. That's my point. Hope you enjoyed.